Hi everyone, my name is Madison Dean. I am a rising senior at Kansas State University and a fourth year guard member as well. And I am here to make a little makeup tutorial for all of our incoming guard members, just so that you can get an idea of what our makeup looks like, or if you need to refer back to something during the season, if you forgot, specifically how we do something, this is where you will find it. But before we begin, I do want to talk about why we do our makeup this way and kind of explain how it works. So we do performance makeup. Now you would see that in a theater setting, which is basically putting on a whole lot of makeup and looking absolutely crazy up close. But the great part is that you look great from far away. So if you've never been in Bill Snyder Family Stadium, we are here on the field doing most of our performances, pre-game, halftime, anything like that. And we want to have the people all the way up in the nosebleeds be able to see our face. The point of performance makeup is not necessarily to look gorgeous up close, but mainly to be able to project to basically anyone, anywhere. So that's why throughout this tutorial, you'll probably see that I'm packing on product everywhere. So as you can see, my hair is looking a little crazy right now. That's because I have my bangs pushed back so that you can see my full face. Usually I would put foundation on and then just kind of cover it up with my bangs. But for this tutorial, I do want you all to see all of my face. And then hopefully as well, I will be putting little notes here and there throughout the video, which are basically just little tips and tricks to think about when you're buying makeup, when you're applying makeup, anything like that, just so that we can focus mainly on the application of the products themselves, but also you can get an idea of some other, like I said, tips and tricks and things like that.
So the first thing that we're going to start off with is primer. Now, primer is absolutely essential for creating a makeup look that stays and looks smooth and gorgeous for, those 8 to 12 hours that we're doing guard and practicing and everything. So what does primer do? Primer kind of creates a base between your skin and the makeup on top of it. So make sure that throughout the day, your foundation and your cream products are not sinking into your skin, and it also helps with acne as well, making sure that that foundation doesn't clog your pores. Next, we are going to head over to foundation. So I know that some people like to do their eyes first before they put on foundation. That's completely fine. It's all up to personal preference on what you want to do. As you can see here, I'm taking the foundation and putting it on the back of my hand so that I can build up the foundation and not create these, streaks that I'll need to even out later on. So taking it with a beauty blender, blending it out on my face, all over my face, making sure that I'm getting, on those eyelids, even getting lower and getting into the neck area so that we don't have that line between the face and the neck. And then slowly I'm going to build up that coverage so that we have a full coverage look. So now that we have our base products on, now we are going to build back up highlights, the redness of our cheeks, our shadows. Here I'm starting off with concealer, so that's going to be put wherever you find kind of the highlights of your face. You want this shade to be a 2 to 3 shades lighter than your foundation so that you do have a very obvious difference between the two. And just like with everything else, we want to put more than we think we need. Then we are going to head to our cream bronzer. Now we're going to put this where the shadows of our face are. And the shadows of our face are kind of under the chin, right along our hairline, and right below those cheekbones. Then Then I'm going to go back to my Beauty Blender and start blending out that concealer. So I let it sit for a little bit just so that it could kind of soak into the skin and won't, move around as much when I start to blend it out. It'll kind of stay centered where I want it to be. So as you can see, we're starting to kind of build back up those shadows and those lights again. Obviously, I do look a little bit crazy up close, of course, but imagine from far away, you can tell, the highlights of my face, the shadows of my face. I don't look washed out from far away. Then we are going to head over to our cream blush. Here is the color that it's in. So a little bit of a very vibrant shade, and that's exactly what we want. So I'm going to take a small beauty blender and just start packing it on. This one is usually the scariest part for most people because they want to put on, a appropriate amount of blush, but unfortunately that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for, can you see the rosiness of my cheeks from hundreds of feet away. So I'm, putting it on kind of the apple of my cheek, but then blending it up into kind of where my brow bone is so that it's not concentrated in one place on my face. I'm also going to do my brows as well. Now, usually I don't tend to do my brows whenever I do just, regular everyday today makeup. However, you got to remember from far away, especially if you have kind of lighter eyebrows, that you can't really tell that you have brows on sometimes. So even for people like me where I think my eyebrows are dark enough that you should be able to see them, I would still recommend doing it and, just filling it out, making your brows look more uniform. The next thing you're going to do in order to help your makeup stay is put on a setting powder after all of your cream products are on. I'm taking a fluffy brush here, and again, I am just packing on as much powder as possible. So you'll see, I won't brush it in just yet. I'm going to pack it on. Another thing that I would recommend is getting a setting powder that's not translucent, but one that's more either like banana colored, I know that's pretty common, or, a little bit more pinky, because that's going to keep your face from getting that kind of white cast and, look more like your skin. Again, the purpose of using a powder right after all of our cream products is so that we are locking all of our cream products in so that they do not move. Once we start putting on, our eyeshadow, our blush, our bronzer in its powder form. Then I'm going to take that same fluffy brush and just go in and brush all of that excess powder off. You should be left with a very smooth, non-dewy kind of appearance. I do love a good dewy, shiny makeup look, but unfortunately with how much we sweat, how much we are in the sun, how much, how long we have this makeup on, we do want this to be as matte as possible. So unfortunately, no matter what you do, after you put powder on, you're going to lose some of that vibrancy that you got from those cream products. So I'm going to go in and just take the powder versions of my blush and my bronzer and just build back up that color again. Now we are going to start on our eyes. I learned this trick from I think it was a beauty, just makeup, regular makeup video that I found on YouTube. But I like to have a really sharp line for my eyeshadow. And so I'll take some basic Scotch tape, put it around my eye where I want that line to be. And so that way when I do my eyeshadow and my eyeliner and things like that, once I take it off, I'm gonna have this beautiful line that just looks so clean. Then I am going to start on my eyeshadow. This is a ColourPop palette. We are looking for a couple of warm brown shades. So we'd like kind of a color that's close to your skin tone, a brown that's a little bit darker than that, and then a brown that is a little bit darker than that. So as you can see, that color that I just went into is pretty close to my skin tone. I'm gonna take a big fluffy eyeshadow brush and go in and just pack my lid, because this is going to create a base for when we put on the other eyeshadow colors so that they blend out more easily. Then I'm going to go into a shade that's like a slightly bit darker. Take that, put it on that same fluffy brush, and go in, and from the corner of the lid all the way to the middle of the lid, I'm going to pack that on. I don't want to go to the inner corner because we're going to create a really pretty gradient. And so just taking that color just to the corner of the lid to the middle of the lid. And it's totally fine that it looks a little bit patchy right now because we're going to go in and blend it out later. Then I'm going to go into my darkest brown shade. We don't want to go so dark that we go black. We just want to go to a pretty vibrant dark brown. And I'm going to take that and just pat it into the outer corner of my eye. Then I'm going to take my same brush and clean it off really quick so that we have a clean slate for our eyeshadow brush. Then I'm just going to go in and lightly blend it out so that we can create that beautiful gradient. So we want the lights to be toward the inner corner of the eye and the darks to be toward the outer corner of the eye. After you've blended, if you find that you need to put more eyeshadow on to bring back that, vibrancy, that is completely fine as well. Then we are going to go in with eyeliner. So again, this is also essential if you want to kind of define your eyes. I go in with a black eyeliner. We are going to do a tiny little wing, not too dramatic, just because we are going to put on eyelashes and mascara later, so we don't want it to be too much around the eyes. So again, here is where the tape really comes in handy because it helps establish that bottom line of the wing so that I don't have to worry about that. All that I have to worry about is establishing that top kind of part of the wing and putting it over my lid. Now we are going to go in with mascara. I like to use a mascara primer before I put on my mascara. I just feel as though that it helps kind of lengthen everything and help the mascara stick to, my eyelashes. This is completely optional, but I just like to do it. Then we are going to go in with the actual mascara itself. I just take the wand and then I put it right below my eyelashes and then kind of blink into the wand itself. I feel like that works for me. It helps get that product onto my eyelashes. However you do it is completely fine. Again, I would recommend for this to get a waterproof mascara just because sometimes it rains, sometimes it snows, you're sweating a whole bunch, so you don't want that mascara to be running all over the place. Then we are going to take off our Scotch tape and look at that. Look how sharp and beautiful that line is. I think it just makes it automatically look absolutely amazing, so clean and just so professional. If you find that you have some fallout maybe from your eyeshadow, no worries. Again, take that fluffy brush and just kind of go over it, and that excess powder should just brush off. If it doesn't though, you can always go in with some more blush or some more concealer to kind of cover it. Now it is time for fake eyelashes. Now I understand that this is not everybody's cup of tea, and so that's why it is considered optional for us. However, it is another thing that I would highly recommend. just because it just makes your eyelashes pop that much more. So I'm just taking some eyelash glue and putting it on my fake eyelashes. I go for more dramatic eyelashes so that you can really see them from far away. So I put the glue on and then I'll shake it a little bit to let it dry, and then I'll just put it on my eyelid, kind of where my eyeliner is sitting. And here you can see the difference between my two eyes, with the one with the eyelashes on and the eyelashes off. Then we will head over to lipstick. Now we do not do, red lipstick. We do kind of a more mauve. This is Anastasia Beverly Hills in the color Dusty Rose. So we really just want to enhance our lip color, not necessarily change it. Another thing that I would really recommend is a mattifying liquid lipstick. Something that's difficult with that is finding one that's not going to dry the heck out of your lips. But I really like Anastasia Beverly Hills. I think my lips feel fine after they dry down. Next, we're going to go in and put our tattoo on. Now, some people like to do this before they put their makeup on. I like to do it afterward. I feel like it works the best for me. So you're going to take a washcloth, damp washcloth, and put the tattoo on your face. I like to give it a little smile where the apple of your cheek is and put the tattoo there. As you will see in a little bit, this was actually not my best go at a tattoo. It did not come off correctly. So I did want to keep this included so that everyone knows, what can you do if you have a tattoo just not do what it needs to do. So obviously this will be different if you do or do not have your makeup already on. I already have my makeup on, so I'm going to take that same washcloth and just rub it off. Then I'm going to go in and build up that spot again. So put foundation back on, put blush back on, and then attempt to put the tattoo on once more. Now this time ended up going much better for me. This is how the Power Cat should look. Then I'll take a fan and usually just wave it so that I can dry it down. The last thing that you're going to do is put on setting spray. This is, again, super essential, even though you've already put on setting powder, because that's going to be that final step that locks absolutely everything in. So I'm using the e.l.f., I think, overnight spray or something like that. We want a spray that's meant for activity, meant for keeping the makeup on forever and ever. So this is what the final makeup looks like. Here it is up close, but as you can see from far away, it looks a lot less scary. And that is the final makeup look for the Kansas State University Color Guard. Thank you so much for watching, and go Cats!